They lied to America for 8 years. They destroyed lives with fake dossiers and phony investigations. They weaponized our intelligence agencies against the sitting president. Now the hammer of justice is finally falling. But will it be enough? Will it be soon enough? DNI Tulsi Gabbard just pulled security clearances from dozens of Russiagate conspirators, calling their actions a seditious conspiracy that broke America's sacred trust. The swamp creatures are panicking, forming legal defense funds, watching their power evaporate. But here's what they don't want you to know. This is only the beginning. The real question is, will we see handcuffs before they slither away into the shadows again? If there's one thing that is for certain, America needs justice, and it needs it now. Get ready for the receipts. And if you're getting close to retirement or just thinking ahead, you've probably done a solid job of saving. But here is something most people don't consider. How much of that money is just sitting in cash? Well, it might feel safe, but holding too much cash guarantees one thing. You're losing purchasing power. Inflation eats away at it, and the dollar's value keeps slipping. And that's why more people are looking at real assets like physical gold and silver to protect their savings. And one company makes it easy, Noble Gold Investments. Visit noblegold.com or hit the link in the description or call that number 877-646-5347. And when you talk to Colin, tell him Gary said hello. So Tulsi Gabbard is on fire. Man, she is just doing it all. Here is a picture of me and Tulsi at Ron Paul's birthday party a couple weeks ago. Amazing experience meeting her. And now we have this. This is just from a couple hours ago. Today, I'm launching ODNI 2.0, the first step towards bringing about transformational change that's based on cutting bloated bureaucracy, rooting out deep state actors, and restoring mission focus. When implementation is complete, ODNI will be more agile, efficient, and effective, reducing our organization by more than 40%, saving taxpayers $700 million a year. Looks like she's going full Doge on the ODNI. This is the official news release that she attached to her post. And she went on Hannity, and he asked her whether there is still deep state actors inside the intel community sabotaging elections. She didn't even have to think about it. She said our national security depends on exposing them. Listen to this.
Do we have deep state actors that are trying to influence our presidential elections? Is that what we're concluding here?
Yes, we have people within the intelligence community. Again, when you look at this example of who President Obama charged with this task, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey at the highest levels, but also those who worked as careerists within the intelligence community who did not object to their manipulation and manufacturing of intelligence and actually helped them get there. All moving towards their partisan interests, that they were not happy with the outcome of this election, and they were willing to do whatever it took in order to try to undermine President Trump's administration during his first term in office. These are bad actors that have to be rooted out. Our national security depends on it. The ability for the American people's trust to be earned back depends on exposing the bad actors and holding them accountable. And that's what President Trump is determined to do.
Do we have...
And she is the one tasked to do it. And I couldn't think of a better person. I mean, she left the Democrat Party. All right. She was one of them. She had a D next to her name. And now she's on our side. The Democrats tried to destroy her, too. Okay? And now she's got an axe to grind. Tulsi Gabbard stripping 37 of security clearances over Obama-ordered intel report that launched Russiagate. That's the New York Post 24 hours ago. Here's another clip. DNI Gabbard made another rare appearance on Fox, and she's not messing around. She knows every detail about Russiagate, and that's why the leftist hacks hate her. This video is well worth the watch. Share it so everybody knows the truth. Gunter Eagleman writing. Listen.
Interference with us, with more. This kind of fits in with your original declassification. And that was what you discovered was there was an original senior career intelligence assessment about possible Russian interference in 2016. And they said there was no interference. And correct me if I'm wrong. And then Obama himself reordered another assessment with top intel officials rather than listen to rank and file senior analysts that are career analysts?
So there's a slight difference here in what you're saying, Sean. First of all, thank you for having me on. It's great to see you. The intelligence community assessed in the months leading up to that November 2016 election that, yes, Russia was trying to interfere in our election by sowing discord and chaos, but stating over and over again that Russia did not appear to have any preference for one candidate over the other. They viewed both as equally bad for Russia's interest. The big shift that happened around what is now commonly known as Russiagate was after the election. In early December, President Obama called a meeting of his National Security Council leadership. From that meeting, there was directive that was delivered from President Obama to then Obama's DNI, James Clapper, to then CIA Director John Brennan, to come up with a new intelligence community assessment that contradicted the ones that had been produced previously by the intelligence community. This new one said that Russia, Putin, did try to interfere in the election because he wanted Trump to win. They did this using shoddy intelligence, little pieces of intelligence gathered from places that intelligence professionals refused to reference previously because they knew it was substandard and did not meet the quality and the credibility that is expected of them as intelligence professionals. And they used the Steele dossier, knowing John Brennan knew, James Clapper knew, others within the intelligence community knew that the Steele dossier was a political manufactured document intended to be weaponized against then candidate Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump won the election. The American people voted for Donald Trump in 2016. So these intelligence leaders, and John Brennan and James Clapper and James Comey, then director of the FBI, then used this Steele dossier as a source for this Obama-directed new intelligence assessment. Again, stating and alleging that Putin, Russia, tried to help Trump win the election.
Continuing on. Let's get to this. Gabbard ripping security clearances from 37 individuals tied to the Russia hoax. Here's the New York Post headline. Tulsi Gabbard strips 37 clearances from over Obama-ordered intel report that launched Russiagate. Here she goes, scorched earth on the 37 officials she just revoked for, calling it seditious conspiracy.
Hundreds of pages. If you go to odni.gov, people who say, well, Tulsi, this is just your view or your interpretation. No, it's all in hundreds of pages of documents that I've declassified and released that show point by point exactly what happened through this timeline that showed this very dangerous thing that occurred in the creation of Russiagate, the creation of this manufactured intelligence assessment that essentially had the intent of undermining the voices and votes of the American people who elected Donald Trump. They were not happy with the outcome of that election. And so they created this politicized, weaponized piece of fake intelligence that, as you mentioned, then went on to serve as the foundation for everything that came after, the multiple investigations, the years-long Mueller investigation, 2 congressional impeachments, investigations in the raid at Mar-a-Lago. The list goes on and on. Ultimately, the real crime here was against the American people because this action singularly undermined the integrity of our democratic republic. What to speak of the fact that some of those folks and those 37 individuals that we revoked directed the revocation of security clearances from today by under the direction of President Trump. They aided and abetted in this action, this seditious conspiracy that undermined our democracy, undermined our republic, and broke that sacred trust that every one of these professionals is supposed to have from the American people. If you go to ODN...
I gasp because I am furious about what's happened to our country. But I'm also overjoyed that we're finally seeing some justice here. I mean, yes, we haven't seen perp walks yet, but they're lawyering up. They know that it's coming. A lot of those folks didn't get the auto pen pardon from Joe Biden's, secret government. I mean, we know Adam Schiff did, but that can easily be tested now because he is lawyering up. He's preparing to get an indictment. Then we get a chance to test the legitimacy of Joe Biden's fake signatures on those pardons. And once one domino falls, they're all going to fall. We need to see this. I mean, the implications of Adam Schiff's challenged pardon is going to topple General Milley. It's going to topple Fauci. It's going to topple all of them, except for Hunter Biden, because that was actually signed by Joe Biden. Tulsi Gabbard set to announce she's striking nearly 50% of the Office of Director of National Intelligence, saving taxpayers almost $700 million a year. And we have this from the FBI Director Kash Patel, this just 13 hours ago, announcing Operation Restore Justice, resulting in the arrest of over 200 individuals involved in horrific actions against children across 55 FBI field offices, rescuing 115 children and declaring, if you harm our children, you will be given no sanctuary.
Our children. If you harm our children, you will be given no sanctuary. There is no place we will not come to hunt you down. There is no place we will not look for you. And there is no cage we will not put you in should you do harm to our children. The prioritization of this administration and General Bondi has made it abundantly clear to child predators, you will be hunted down and you will be prosecuted. And that is a refreshing thing to hear for the men and women who do this work tirelessly. And it's also an acknowledgement of the safety that we look forward to bringing America. Our children.
Now, I should point out that Kash Patel, you know, he may be celebrated for that move, but this latest move here, you may have not known this. We did post this on X. FBI honoring agents involved in the Lavoy Finicum standoff with a bravery medal. This was just a couple days ago. And there you can see Kash Patel giving the Shield of Bravery. Now, who was Lavoy Finicum? Well, he was gunned down by FBI agents at the Malheur Wildlife Refuge years ago. We were actually one of the only news outlets to cover that standoff. And now the family is protesting FBI's bravery medals for agents involved in Finicum's death. The family of Robert Lavoy Finicum is speaking out after the FBI awarded medals of bravery to members of its hostage rescue team who were involved in the January 26, 2016 operation in Harney County, Oregon, that ended in his death. Lavoy's widow, 12 children, and 45 grandkids say the FBI's official citation contains false information, including claims he rammed a federal vehicle, pinned an agent, and was headed to a clandestine meeting. In reality, he was on his way to a publicly announced town hall meeting hosted by county law enforcement. The government is honoring men while ignoring the unresolved question of our father's death. The family said he was shot in the back 3 times, fired upon with his hands raised. His truck with women inside was riddled with bullets. Evidence was mishandled. He was labeled a domestic terrorist without trial or due process. To call this bravery dishonors truth and justice. The Finicum family has sent a letter to FBI Director Kash Patel requesting correction of false statements in the award citation, clarification on the legal grounds for labeling Lavoy a domestic terrorist, and full transparency and release of records surrounding the operation. Every medal given without truth, acknowledged, or to those who do not deserve it is another wound to our family. The statement continued, we want closure, not commendations based on falsehoods. And you can contact Mark Herr, who is the Finicum family representative. I remember covering that very, very clearly. So, you know, we have to hold these people accountable. I'm sure I'll commend Kash for his actions to save children, but I will not commend him for awarding those FBI agents a Medal of Bravery for an act of cowardice. Let's keep going here. Okay, so here's Tulsi Gabbard 24 hours ago on those security clearances. She writes, being entrusted with a security clearance is a privilege, not a right. And what's interesting, and before I go further, a lot of these people with security clearances, they go on into media roles. They become commentators. And because they have that security clearance, they still have access to internal documents and information and intelligence that they can then dance around or kind of present on those mainstream channels. So it's a huge, huge selling point when they bring in former FBI agents onto MSNBC. She writes, those in the intelligence community who betray their oath to the Constitution and put their own interests ahead of the interests of the American people have broken the sacred trust they promised to uphold. In doing so, they undermine our national security, the safety and security of the American people, and the foundational principles of our democratic republic. This is why, at POTUS direction, President Trump's direction, DNI Gov directed the revocation of the security clearance of 37 current and former intelligence professionals who have abused the public trust by politicizing and manipulating intelligence, leaking classified intelligence without authorization, and or committing intentional egregious violations of tradecraft standards. Our intelligence community must be committed to upholding the values and principles enshrined in the U.S. Constitution and maintain a laser-like focus on our mission of ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. Here's the official statement on the decision and the revocation of security clearances, giving a point-by-point reasoning, as I just read to you. Now, who were those people? Here's the big list. Andrew Cedar, Andrew Miller, Benjamin Cooper, Beth Sanner, Brett Holmgren, Charles Kupchan, Christopher Center, Corinne Graff, Dippreet Sidhu, Edward Gustaro, Emily Holm, Harry Hanna, Heather Gutierrez. I mean, the list goes on. And I wonder how many of these people are still profiting or were profiting off of that security clearance. Well, they can profit no more. Because by doing so, she is enabling the rapid draining of the swamp. And we have this also 24 hours ago, bombshell. Joe Biden's own DOJ threw up red flags on his auto pen pardons, new documents show. We were just talking about the auto pen and how it could be challenged through an Adam Schiff indictment. Let's take a closer look here. I know it might be difficult to read. I'll do my best to share it with you. Okay, so this looks like an email that went out to a bunch of folks. The subject was clemency list. And it says, I think the language offenses described to the Department of Justice in the warrant is highly problematic. And in order to resolve its meaning appropriately and consent with the president's intent, we will need a statement or direction from the president as to how to interpret the language. They couldn't even figure out what he was saying or who was even writing it. They wanted direct messaging from the president. The commutation applies to all federal offenses for which the inmate is under sentence. Now, the second yellow line, because it renders the language superfluous, I can't speak, which could be the intent. It's also likely it will result in commutations in circumstances including crimes of violence that was not intended. It's the guess as to what was meant by the warrant language and goes beyond the four corners of the warrant, something we do not normally do. Because no offenses have been described to the department from the president, the commutations do not take effect. There is yet to come clear direction from the president giving meaning to the language for the offenses described to the Department of Justice. I think best we receive a statement or direction from the president as to the meaning of the warrant language. They had no idea what the hell was going on, and they needed direct clarity to proceed in turning on the auto pen. And speaking of auto pen, here's Adam Schiff, one of the recipients of the pardon. Adam Schiff is shitting his pants right now, Gunter Eagleman writes. The lying POS just formed his own legal defense fund. Well, why would you form your own legal defense fund? It's because he knows the hammer of justice is about to drop. Tick-tock, he writes. Political organization notice of Section 527 status. Oh. Now, let's see if I can zoom in on that for you. See right there. There it is. The Senator Schiff Legal Defense Fund. If you want to go ahead and contribute to the legal defense fund, go ahead. There it is. That's how you do it. Established on 8/14/2025. What do you know? It is in motion because Adam Schiff knows his days are numbered. Shifty shift. Let's keep going here. Here's more from that. Schiff just formed a legal defense fund for himself. It is happening. Time to lock him up. And I know you and I would love nothing more to see this man in an orange jumpsuit. Here's more from James Comey of the Oversight Committee. 7 hours ago, newly declassified emails reveal how unelected and unaccountable federal bureaucrats crafted false and politically driven narratives aimed at undermining President Trump. He tags Gabbard, the CIA director, Cash, and Morning with Maria. Let's listen in.
With Michael Schmidt. Joining me right now is Kentucky Congressman and House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comey. Mr. Chairman, great to have you. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Good morning, Maria.
And of course, there was a behind closed doors testimony of Columbia University law professor Daniel Richman, who apparently was Jim Comey's media mole. And he was communicating with Michael Schmidt at the New York Times, according to John Solomon at Just the News. And he was trying to get Michael Schmidt at the New York Times to write favorable stories about Jim Comey and negative stories about President Trump. What can you tell us?
Well, look, this is what we thought was going on all along. This is the deep state coordinating and colluding with the liberal media to create false narratives that would hurt President Trump and other Republicans. This has been going on for a long time, and thanks to Tulsi Gabbard and John Radcliffe and Kash Patel, we're finally seeing the evidence to prove that, and hopefully we're turning a corner with respect to our intelligence community, and these new faces led by President Trump can restore credibility to our intelligence community.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, are we ever going to see accountability, Congressman? I mean, we've been talking about the Russia collusion lie for years. Here it is, John Radcliffe with me back in 2019, basically putting his finger on the story, knowing that John Brennan and James Clapper were behind pushing this ridiculous nonsense. Watch this, 2019, watch this.
The Democrats have made the mistake of staking the credibility of all this on Adam Schiff. The person that they put in charge of this investigation turns out is the one that helped start it by meeting with a person who walked out of Adam Schiff's office and became the whistleblower. And at the very same time that that's happening, as you mentioned, now there's an Inspector General report that comes out that says during the last impeachment hoax, the Trump-Russia one, Adam Schiff repeatedly made false statements to the American people about the FBI's actions.
You know, Adam Schiff was certainly out and about a lot throughout the last 3 years saying that there is collusion in plain sight. And now we get the IG report and we actually see the misconduct and what they call errors, fraud, whatever you want to call it. What is your reaction to what you learned from Michael Horowitz?
It wasn't just that Adam Schiff was out and about. He put out a report that said there was no FISA abuse by the FBI. That was false. He said that the FBI didn't fail to turn over exculpatory information. That was false. He said that the Steele dossier was not a central part of the FISA applications against Carter Page. That was false.
So Adam Schiff was your colleague in the House. I mean, he was the chairman of the Intelligence Committee at one point. Now he's a senator. There's been no accountability. Why should we expect any accountability anywhere?
Well, this is the opportunity that conservatives have been waiting for a long time. Now we have people like John Radcliffe who, along with Devin Nunes, have been saying this was what was taking place for a long time. Now, with access to the National Archives, we have the evidence in the form of emails to prove this is what's happening. It's up to Pam Bondi now to take this evidence and hold people accountable. And if for whatever reason, people like Adam Schiff and Clapper and Comey and Christopher Wray, if they get by with what they've done and are never held accountable, I think there's going to be a lot of disappointment among conservatives because we've sat back and we've watched this happen over the last 5 to 8 years, and nothing's happened. Now the evidence is clear. It's time to hold people accountable. It's my understanding, Maria, that there are grand jury deliberations taking place. It's my understanding that the Department of Justice is serious about taking this evidence that's emerged and holding these people accountable. And I certainly hope that's what happens.
Yeah, we all hope it happens. Adam Schiff, the whole lot of them. Let's take a listen here. Tulsi Gabbard stripping 37. This is another clip from Fox. I think we may have played this.
If you go to odni.gov, people who say, well, Tulsi, this is just your view or your interpretation. No, it's all in hundreds of pages of documents that I've declassified and released that show point by point exactly what happened through this timeline.
And that timeline is true and correct. And the deep state is absolutely panicking right now. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. This matters because for 8 years, these criminals use your tax dollars to fund a coup against your president. They turned the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA into their personal attack dogs. They leaked, they lied, they destroyed innocent people like General Flynn and George Papadopoulos. Now Tulsi is taking a hacksaw to their power structure. 40% workforce reduction, $700 million saved, and those 37 security clearances, just the appetizer. The fact that Adam Schiff needs a legal defense fund tells you everything. These people thought they were untouchable. They thought they were above the law, permanent fixtures in the shadow government. They were wrong. So here's my question for you. Is revoking clearances enough? Or do we need to see the perp walks? Who do you want to see perp walk first? Let me know in the comments. Let's continue the conversation. And while you're fired up, check out our merch shop and support our network. It's linked down below, and show the world you stand with truth over treason.